Hello, Earth Angels, and welcome back to another episode of Alignment Academy. It is your host, Kristen, and I am excited for another week with you. I'm excited to dive into today's topic. If you're new here, then welcome. My name is Kristen. I'm a corporate dropout turned multi-six-figure entrepreneur. I am so passionate about helping people heal their trauma so they can find and step into their soul's purpose and live the biggest life that they're meant to. We really combine spirituality, mindset, energy work, healing, and kind of like put it all to one in this podcast. You're going to learn so much about how to evolve as a soul, and really Alignment Academy is a school for your soul to reach its next level, because at the end of the day, we're all just souls that came down to earth to learn lessons, to transmute things, to just find a greater level of consciousness. And consciousness is the ability to hold multiple perspectives. And the way that we really do that is by going through experiences and then having more perspectives, the higher perspective to come out of, right? So a good example of this is just like the worst thing that's happening to you, you let time pass and you see it from a new perspective, and then it becomes the best thing that's ever happened to you because you see how it made you grow and how it made you evolve. And that's really what this whole entire life is. It's like we have all these challenges and bad things, and in the moment they're hard, but then we are able to look at it from a new lens eventually and be like, wow, that worst thing became the best thing. And I'm actually really, really grateful for it. That's a little bit about the podcast. You know, I was really thinking about my business this last weekend and week, and I have really personally been on like a second spiritual awakening for the last 2 years. And in that second spiritual awakening, I do feel like I just wanted to share whatever was relevant in my life and how it impacted me. And I think there was so much value in that, but I think that I got a little bit far away from my real mission. And how this business started was I wanted to help people follow their soul's purpose. And I wanted to help them because my journey with my soul's purpose was one of the hardest, meaning I was so miserable when I was living at my corporate job, living for the weekend, living super out of alignment with my values, just miserable in every sense of the word. And the moment I actually committed to the journey of my soul purpose, like everything just fell into place. I felt so much more in alignment. The people that were coming into my life were on my level. They were on my frequency. And there were so many hard moments, but the entire thing was worth it because I knew I was on my soul's path. Alignment is this intangible feeling of this is the right way. It feels like I'm on the train tracks versus I'm off the train tracks. And when you're off, it affects every area of your life. And truthfully, when somebody else is out of alignment, like you can tell. It's like almost like they can't even be fully in alignment with any relationship in their life. They can't even be fully in alignment in any conversation, because any conversation, any interaction is going to just kind of swing the way that's out of alignment, if that makes sense. And a good example of this is like, let's say that someone hates their job, and then like every time you hang out with them, it's like all they're talking about is them hating their job and how miserable they are. And you're like, well, I don't really want to just hang out with you and just talk about this. But it's like that misalignment starts to bleed into friends, and then you're hanging out with friends who also hate their jobs, and you can start to see how it just bleeds in all of these different areas of your life. And you hate your job, so you're not eating well, and you're not eating well, and so you feel like shit. It's like it's a domino effect, right? And so what I'm trying to say is that your soul's purpose, in my opinion, is the most important aspect of your life. Like we are here to do something for the world and bring more light into it. And what better way to do that than the thing that we do most on planet Earth, which is work. I mean, nobody can deny it. We are here as beings. Like, yes, we're here to have fun and stuff, but most of our existence is spent at our vocation or our workplace. And so if you don't like your job, like, oof, you're not going to like your life in general. And that's just it's a big responsibility. I also want to start by saying that I think that there is a big responsibility as someone growing up in today's day and age to follow your soul's purpose if you can. And in one of my very first episodes, I shared something to this effect, but I'm just going to reshare what's coming up for me in my heart right now is, when I was really about to quit my job, I was thinking about my grandparents who are immigrants and came over from Israel, and they're also entrepreneurs. They opened a restaurant here. And I was also thinking about she's like my nanny, but she's like also my grandmother. She raised me, and she came over here from the Philippines, and she was helping out my family for work, like for her work. And this is like a long, long time ago. Anyway, my family has given her a really, really great life. But even with all of her needs met, we've literally met every single need over, given her so much money, given her a place to live, paid for her food, whatever, because she's helped my family. And even after she stopped working, she just ended up living with us. She lived in survival. And I could tell she lived in survival because she was always just like storing food in her room and kind of like hoarding things and just living in this very like survival based place in her life. I realized that she probably's never had thoughts about like, oh, I hope I can follow my soul's purpose, or am I doing my life's work? Like her life's work was just to stay alive and to serve my family. And that's always what it has been. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's just like that was the life that her soul chose. And when I was quitting my corporate job, I really had her in mind a lot. I had both her and my grandparents in mind. Like they never really had the opportunity to say, what am I passionate about? What legacy am I here to leave? Like they were just trying to put food on the table for themselves and their family, and they had to do what needed to get done to do that. And so I think if you have enough money and you have enough time and you have enough safety in your body to think about what is my soul's purpose, it is your responsibility to follow it, because not everyone gets that privilege to say, what does my soul here to do? What am I here to leave? And I think that sometimes we're so zoomed in our life that we forget the bigger picture of this reality. And the reality is that you are good and it's not that deep. And you should try your hardest to live the biggest, most fulfilling life that you can live. Because why else are we here? You know what I mean? So I'm just going to start. Oh yeah, I didn't say the topic today. We're talking about finding clarity on your soul's purpose. And I don't know if I said this in the beginning. I know I've just like went on a freaking rant, but like this is really where my work started, and I'm still so passionate about it. And I want to help kind of go back to my roots and help as many of you as I can follow your soul's purpose. Now, the first thing that I want to cover is what your soul purpose is and isn't. For some reason, people think that their soul purpose is this one thing that they're just going to find. It's like a shoe. It's like, this is the shoe or it isn't, right? And your soul purpose isn't really like that. Your soul purpose evolves with you. So I want to reframe your soul's purpose as a soul's journey, like your highest soul's journey, right? Because when you're in your mission, the mission evolves as you evolve. As you go on another timeline, it becomes bigger, it becomes smaller, and it's going to merge with what stage of life you're in. And so I think that people get wrong in the first place, that they think it's this one thing that they have to find and forget that it's actually a journey that's going to evolve into a bigger thing eventually. The cute thing is that your soul is going to actually be prepping you for its purpose your entire life, even though you don't know it yet. And then all the pieces are going to fall together once you start stepping into it. So quick little interruption to share with you guys a testimonial from Inner Work Alchemy. I am so proud of this particular client because Inner Work Alchemy is a intensive. It means that if you really put your heart and soul into it, you are going to get massive results by the end of the 8 weeks and have a newfound confidence, self-worth, really be attracting better reflections in your life and operating from basically a whole new person. In this program, we do around 3 to 5 inner work meditations a week that are really going to help you reprogram your subconscious mind so you can operate from higher self-worth and create new neural pathways. And here's what she had to say.
Hey, my name is Allie Banks, and I am a mindset and manifestation coach. And I just finished Inner Work Alchemy with Kristen. It was life-changing. Like, there's just no other way to say that. I struggled for about 2 years after I decided I wanted to start my business. It brought up so many triggers and trauma that I didn't realize that I hadn't worked through, to be honest with you. I really struggled with like showing up online, posting videos, and using my voice. It just, all of that was like such a trigger for me. And in Inner Work Alchemy, we worked through all of that. She has the most amazing meditations that really help you go deep and feel safe and feel comfortable, and release the energy that's no longer serving you. So I cannot recommend it enough. I just wrapped the program and now I have started a podcast. I'm posting regularly and I'm having one-on-one sessions with customers and clients and doing things that I literally like only dreamed of. So thank you so much, Kristen. I am so grateful to like be able just to like stand in my own shoes and be powerful and feel confident in a way that I was so that I was just struggling to like step into for a really long time, and this program completely transformed me. So I really appreciate it.
As you guys know, I had my spiritual awakening, or maybe you don't know, when I was 17 years old. Really developed a lot of my intuitive abilities then. And now I'm obviously clearly on the path. But in between then, I went to school at University of South Carolina. Then I got an internship at Under Armour, where then I worked for 4 years after college. During those 4 years, I tried everything under the sun: supply chain, finance, literally everything. HR. I had 2 jobs in HR, 2 jobs in finance. Like I literally like switched jobs like every 7 months because I was so miserable at everything. Tried everything. Decided on a whim to quit my corporate job. Well, I did prepare a little bit, but it was a little bit on a whim. Quit my corporate job, teach yoga full time. Realized quickly that I was so burned out and was going to be poor for the rest of my life if I did that. So started a freelance marketing business. That failed. Tried to start a yoga retreat business. Then COVID hit. So I had like basically 3 failed careers in between: yoga, freelance marketing. In between there, I was like doing Facebook ads. And then the retreat business, they all kind of failed from circumstances or just I couldn't get it off the ground. And then COVID hit. And then I was like, I think I need to start being a coach. And I just had to like figure it out. And then now I'm a coach. Now I have a podcast. I have a membership. I host retreats. And I also hope to move into the podcast in the next couple years full time. And so now you can see how there was actually a lot of little pieces, like the retreats and like social media and all these little pieces of my journey that actually led into the bigger mission. Now, the thing that I want to really point out here is a couple things. Now, I think my journey is just such a good representation of the soul's purpose journey because, again, you really evolve with it. And if I were to try to find coaching right out of my corporate job, I just don't know if that would have happened. I don't know. It wasn't my path, and there was some skills that I needed. It's like there was like some contracts that my soul needed to go through in order to be able to go into coaching. I had to get a few more skills. And so when people are looking for their purpose and they're so focused on finding the one thing before they make the move, I'm like, that's not really the right way to go about this, because you don't know if your actual, let's call it longest purpose, is going to come in 3 jobs. And when people fail, quote unquote, fail at something, and they don't get the results that they desire, they're too zoomed in. They don't realize that the story's not over yet. Like, your soul purpose is ever evolving. It needs to go into something different. And I see this so much of like, some of my clients have a certain type of business and then they're like, I don't think that was it. I think that this is it. And I'm like, yes. We just have to follow the path of what's the next thing. And so if you're stuck and you don't know your purpose, it's like not really about finding that one thing. It's just about what's the next logical step. What is the next logical step? I think that in order to know the next logical step, you have to also be really in tune with yourself and your values, because the number one thing that stops people from not following their soul's purpose or being in an unaligned career is, well, number one, like their parents told them that they should be XYZ. That's what happened to me. And so all of a sudden they're in this career that they fucking hate. And everyone told them that they were going to be successful and happy if they did this career. And then they're not. And they're like, I took all the steps. Why the fuck am I so unhappy? Like, what did I do wrong? And it's like, you didn't do anything wrong. You just were following somebody else's purpose and not yours. And so step one is really getting clear on what your core values are. And I don't teach values like trust and honesty. I I look at values as subjects of interest, right? So my values, relationships, personal growth and spirituality, freedom, those are my values. And so when I'm looking for a next career step, or I'm looking to make a decision in my life, I run it through my values. Like, is this in alignment with my values? And the more values it hits, the better you know it's going to be in alignment, right? It could also hit one value and be still okay, but values are a whole other topic. Let me know if you guys want a podcast on that, because I could talk about values all day. However, your soul's purpose has to be in alignment with your values. And what I mean by that is, so many people, what happens is their biggest values, let's just say, are like travel and freedom and family. Let's say those are your 3 values, right? Then they're at a corporate job where they work 60 hours a week. They can never take time off and they have no time to spend. And they're wondering why they're unfulfilled. Well, homie, you're unfulfilled because you're so out of alignment. You can't hit any of your values with your job. You're not spending time with your family. You have no time freedom, and you're not able to travel because you're working so much. You can't even do what you want to do. And so that person would probably be better suited in a job that's either in the travel industry, or they can travel and work from home. They can spend time with their family. They work less. They're going to be a lot happier because they're more in alignment with their values. So the more you can be in alignment with your values, the happier you're going to be. And I really look at alignment here as like your internal world is matching your external world. What you value inside, you're also doing in your external. Now, the real unfulfillment comes when your internal is saying, I love travel and spirituality and time freedom or whatever you like. And then you're not able to live that in your life. And it's just not a match, right? It's not a frequency match. And that's why you feel so off, because your soul is literally like, this is not who I am. This is not who I am. This is not who I am. And your job is to literally listen. But we're so bad at listening to our souls because all we do is we do the logical thing over the intuitive thing, because as young kids, we were just taught how to do the logical thing when the logical thing is so irrelevant. Because if you are always committed to just following the logical thing, like, you're not going to have a very fulfilled life, because fulfillment isn't really logical. It's like, just how it's not logical that I'm just like into spirituality and maybe you're into music or somebody else is into acting. Like, can you explain to me why I like this and you like that? Like, can you give me a logical reason for that? I'll wait, because you can't. You can't. And the reason you can't is because those things are God-given. They're source-given, and they're what you should follow. However, people don't trust them because they just are trusting societal construct, aka what their parents or what you thought you should do, and not what your soul is actually telling you. Look, this is your gift. This is what you're naturally interested in. Follow this. And I hope I'm like breaking it down in a way that just makes it so obvious, because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make it so obvious that you have to follow the path that your soul wants. In my story, what you kind of realized was I went from finance to supply chain to HR to yoga to social media. Now, this is something that I call the pivot. And the pivot is super, super, super important because it's where most people go wrong. They are at their job. They fucking hate it. They hate their boss. They hate their hours. They have no freedom. They're not making enough money, and they stay. Guys, they stay. Think about how dumb that sounds. You stay at something you hate. Now, you're not a fucking tree. If you don't like where you are, why aren't you moving? Why aren't you making a move? I get it. You're scared. You're fearful. You went to school for this. Who cares? Make a move. We're literally humans. We can do whatever we want. There's no rules except the rules that you're making for yourself. I am quickly interrupting this episode to remind you guys that if you're a listener, which clearly you are, I have created a free meditation for all of you. This meditation was built out of my rock bottom when I needed to trust the universe and release a lot of anxiety I was feeling, and I didn't know how. So I learned how to trust the universe, and I'm going to teach you how in this meditation. It's really practicing this feeling of being held and supported, and remembering that you actually are held and supported by the universe in every single moment. All you have to do to get this meditation is to rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening on, and then go ahead and head over to my podcast Instagram at Alignment Academy Podcast. Give it a follow, and then message me on there with a screenshot of your rating or review, whatever platform you're listening on, and I will send you the meditation. Okay, now back to the episode. one of the biggest things that I've just mastered is when something doesn't feel good, you pivot. When something doesn't feel good, you pivot. You also have to really normalize quote unquote failure, or just know that it's a part of a journey. I don't think I've ever met a CEO or a really successful entrepreneur that's like, yeah, it's been all smooth sailing. Like, you can't find someone. And I think that we forget that when we're like scrolling social media, because we see all these freaking coaches and all these things, 10K, 20K months. I get it. It's hard, but like a lot of them have failed. They're just not posting those on their profile. And so it really does come down to like you normalizing, okay, I'm not going to win at everything that I do. I'm going to have to fail. I'm going to have to look dumb. I'm going to have to look cringe. But what are you willing to do in the name of fulfillment? Because a lot of people aren't willing to fail and look cringe and look dumb and lose some money. But like for me, I'm like, oh, I'll do it all. I'll risk it all if it means like I'm following my purpose. And I think that there is some sort of like internal grit that you have to find within to really be able to persevere on this journey, because it's not for the faint of heart. It will knock you down, but that's also why we have inner work and we have tools to keep going when the going gets tough and keep going when we are not sure that it's going to work. So I really want you to focus on normalizing failure. We already talked about, I have some notes, that's why I'm looking over here, but like focusing on the next step. One of the other things that I see a lot of people do is like, they're like, well, there's two things that I've been interested in, this or that. And it is a little bit of trial and error. Like there's not really like a formula for finding your purpose other than trial and error. And even me, it's like, I had to try yoga. I had to try freelance marketing in order to find this. And I don't really look at them as failures. I just look at them as like points on the journey that were giving me a skill that was going to lead to the ultimate thing. People are unwilling to quote unquote take a risk or waste their time or waste some money. But like, y'all, I've wasted so much money on things that I'm not using now, and life goes on. You can make more money. You know, you have more experiences. Money comes and money comes and money comes. That's like my favorite quote that I've made up, because it's true. Like if you're only living in fear of like, I have to hold on to everything, it's like, it's just not going to work. And I was actually talking to my client the other day. We were trying to find her next thing because she had a little failure in her business. And she was like, I'm really like just beating myself up. I'm shaming myself. I spent so much money on this thing and then it didn't work out. And I was like, girl, what if you died in 2 months? Would you have said, I wish I had $6,000 more in my bank account? Or would you have said, or would you have said, I'm glad I tried. I'm glad I went for it. I'm glad I lived a big life and went after everything my heart desired. And she was like, you're right. Like the $6,000 is not going to matter when I die. And I'm like, yeah, girl, it's not going to freaking matter. Like, who cares? It's $6,000, right? Like sometimes we really have to zoom out. And I'm going to just give you a peek into my friend group and my mind. There's a lot of entrepreneurs, guys. We've all lost a lot of money. That's part of the game. It's risk. And so, especially if you're wanting to play big, you got to learn how to think like people that play big. And people that play big take risks monetarily, socially, with their businesses. It's like you can never guarantee that something is going to work out 100%. All you can do is give it your best go and say, okay, well, I had a fail and it hurts my ego a little bit, but I'm going to keep going. And then once you do it, you're like, oh, like losing money isn't that scary. Or like, oh, I did it and I survived. And you start to fear a lot less things than losing money, because there's just honestly worse things in the world than losing money. So trial and error, especially if you don't know, like you're like, I don't want to waste money on this course or program. Like, it's okay. I promise. I've done it. Everyone's done it. It's the path to your soul's purpose. I'm just urging you to not think it's the end of the world or overthink it. Just follow the next step and it's going to lead you to the next one after that. And one thing that I really like used to tell myself when I was starting my soul's purpose was like, just go as far as you can see. And when you get there, you're going to be able to see further. Just go as far as you can see. And that really is how your soul purpose evolves. It's like you see something and then you do the next thing and then you do the next thing and then you do the next thing. And then all of a sudden you're happy in your career and you're killing it. There's a lot more in between, but you guys know what I mean. I really also think a really important part of following your soul's purpose is letting the fuck go of comparison, guys. Letting it go. Let it go. I had a client the other day that was like, I'm just comparing my path to yours and it looks so different. I failed so much. And I'm like, number one, you don't know how much I failed. I don't just talk about it all the time, right? I talk about a lot of my wins. like a normal person. We all talk about our wins. And number 2, your path is not mine. She was completely different human design, completely different astrology. Her path was different than mine. And I think that when we compare, it's just the biggest waste of time because we're basically making ourselves feel like shit based on false information. And what good does that do? You don't even know if these things are true that you're thinking about this person. They could be doing so bad behind the scenes. They could be sharing things that are completely untrue, or you just don't know the whole picture. And then you're making yourself feel small. It's just like, it's just a waste of time. And when I started my business, I had to put blinders on and just promise myself, like, I'm not going to compare myself. This is my journey. I'm going to just put my head down and work. And that's what you need to do too. Another thing that I really love to do too is fall in love with my journey. Be like, my journey is so special because look at all I've overcome. Look at all I've failed. Look at all I've been through. Like, I love my journey because it's mine. Fall in love with your story because it's yours and you have no other choice. When we're resisting our own story, well, that doesn't get us anywhere. But when we fall in love with it, when we fall in love with our pure heart and our soul and our mission and what we have to offer the world, it's just like such a beautiful, fresh breath of air. And it just releases resistance from us. And we can really just be in service to the next thing. The last thing that I'm really going to kind of finish this with, if you're struggling to find your purpose. Well, before I do this, I do want to let you guys know that I have this program that I don't talk about a lot, but I feel like if you're struggling with your soul's purpose, it is the perfect program for you. It's called Soul Purpose Activator. And it's one of my most affordable programs. It's a 6-week program where you really get to know yourself. You heal all your limiting beliefs holding you back and you make a plan of action to step into your purpose. I'm going to do a little discount code below. If you guys want to snag it, I'll put a little, just like it's super cheap already, but I'll do a little discount code for like a week where you can use it and it will be podcast and you'll get a little percentage off of it. Soul Purpose Activator is the perfect place for you guys to start and step into your soul's purpose if you need that. But the last thing that I really want to say is I know a lot of you might be saying, okay, well, I still don't really know my purpose. Number 1 is going to be, do you really not know? Or do you have an idea, but it just sounds scary and you don't like the answer because it's hard? Because I have coached over 350 women. I have never been on a call where they didn't actually know their purpose. It usually was just super down deep in there, or they weren't asking themselves the right questions, or they did know, but it was too scary. So they literally just assumed they couldn't do it. It's like their limiting beliefs were clouding them so much. They were like, oh, I want to be this like influencer or coach or whatever you want to be, podcaster. But they're like, well, how the fuck would that happen? I can't do that. So they're just like, oh, I don't know my purpose. It's like, yeah, you do, girl. You do know it. You just are scared of how to step into it or what it looks like, or scared that you have to overcome the fear of being seen and it just seems hard. So my first question is, do you really not know, or do you just not like the answer? My second question to help you find your purpose is, if you thought you knew, what would you say? Just, if you had to, gun to your head, you had to, right? What would you say it was? Just take your best guess, because you probably do have it somewhere in there. And if you really have no idea, this is where you need to do values work. And this is all in Soul Purpose Activator. It takes you through step by step to find your purpose, look at your limiting beliefs, to make a plan of action, overcome your fear and perfectionism, and step into it. Those are just some things to get you started and help you take the next step, because guys, this is your work. This is what you're here to do. Like, your soul came here for a mission, and I want you to take that seriously. I always say mission over everything. I will stop at nothing to find my purpose. I will look as dumb as I need to. I will fail as much as I need to. I will spend as much money as I need to if it's in the name of following my purpose. And when you have that level of devotion, all the rest falls away. It doesn't matter who judges you. It doesn't matter how much you fail. It doesn't matter how much money you spend. You're like, I'm in devotion to myself and my mission and to my soul. And so I really hope that you can kind of take some of that and sit with it and take some action, because the truth is that listening to this podcast isn't enough for you to step into your soul's purpose, girl or boy. You really gotta do something. You gotta take action, because just nothing changes if nothing changes. I can't do it for you. No one can do it for you. And honestly, no one really cares if you're fulfilled or not. That was like one of the most sobering moments in my journey, when I realized, like, I was sitting in a cube in my corporate job and I'm like, fuck, no one cares if I sit here for the rest of my life and rot. Literally, I was so miserable. I'm like, of course everyone wants the best for me, but no one cares. No one cares if I stay here. And that was the moment I decided, I'm like, I got to do this for me. I gotta leave. I gotta do it for me because no one can do it for me. And just like I can't do it for you, your mom can't do it for you, your friends can't do it for you. You gotta do it for you. That's all I have to say. I hope you got a lot out of this episode. I hope you learned something. If you want to join Alignment Academy, we have a call coming up this week. We also have what call coming up next week. I believe it's the live coaching call this week and a live meditation next week. So definitely hop in there. It's $77. You get 3 live calls with me a month. They're all different themed. Co-working, coaching, meditation, live meditations. You also get 8 master classes, 7 of my best-selling meditations, community where you can ask any questions you want and have like-minded friends. It's truly the best. $77 a month, cancel anytime. It's like someone said, it's a spiritual gym. It's where you go to work out your soul's muscle. And we pay for gyms, we pay for coffee with our friends, we pay for food. We might as well pay for our personal growth, because that's another thing with your values. Like, I can tell what you value by if you spend your money on it. And if you don't spend your money on it, you're probably unfulfilled. And that's the reason why, because you're spending all your money drinking when you should be spending money on personal growth or something that you actually care about. And I'm saying that because that was me. I was spending all my money drinking when I was 23 years old and I didn't care about it. And I was like, why am I spending my time, my money, my energy here when what I really care about is spirituality and personal growth and growing? And like, look at me now, like that's very in alignment with my life now. So go me for following my soul. And I hope you follow your soul. And I don't know, I'm in a silly mood today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you had fun hanging out, and I love you. I'll see you on the next one. Let me know what episodes you guys want. I always love hearing feedback from you. So that's it. See you in the next one. Bye.